Hi, my name is Joanne Lowy, and I am the Local Board Relationship Manager for PSPRS. Welcome, and thank you for attending today's Ethics Awareness Training session. This training is required for new local board members, secretaries, and council elected or appointed on or after January 1, 2022. The goal of this training is to provide a basic overview of key ethical concepts to keep in mind during your service to your local board. Let's get started. Local boards play a key role in the administration of PSPRS managed retirement plans. Service to a local board in many cases is voluntary, but that does not take away from how important local boards are to first responders and corrections officers, local board communities, and the state of Arizona. Under state law, local boards are responsible for determining the eligibility of plan members. They are also responsible for determining whether members qualify for disability benefits and whether survivors are entitled to line-of-duty death benefits. These are important duties, and as such, there are some simple pointers for meeting the expectations of this role. Act with the highest standards of personal integrity, honesty, and transparency in your service and decision-making. This begins with upholding your fiduciary duties by acting promptly and impartially. Local board members must adhere to plan statutes. They do not represent employers or other constituent groups. Local board members must avoid personal or financial conflicts of interest and refuse gifts or services of financial value. Also, be sure to avoid or report fraud and the waste or abuse of public resources. Remember, local board personnel, like any public officials and entities, must be aware of scenarios that could compromise or appear to compromise their ability to act impartially. Finally, it's impossible to cover every type of ethical issue that may arise for local boards in a single training session. Please consult with your local board attorney for guidance when need presents itself or if you have questions. Perhaps the most important component of government ethics is the concept of conflict of interest. Simply put, a local board member cannot serve both the interest of plan members and themselves at the same time. Board members must seek to avoid scenarios that present a direct or remote conflict of interest, and be careful about contributing to the appearance of a conflict of interest. There's a variety of conflict and behaviors to avoid, such as anything that could impair or appear to impair your judgment as a local board member. Avoid voting on the plan eligibility or benefit applications of relatives. Avoid soliciting or accepting gifts of value or favors or services. This could include money, entertainment, like tickets to sporting events, discounts for goods and services, or loans. The soliciting or accepting of future employment opportunities or compensation in connection with your local board services must be avoided. Local board members must also avoid recommending that local boards contract with or purchase goods from businesses in which local board members or their relatives have a vested interest. Now let's move on to discuss how to avoid these conflicts through disclosure. It's important to disclose potential conflicts of interest and recuse yourself from votes or considerations on those matters. The first step is to consult your local board attorney if you have any real or potential conflicts of interest. State law distinguishes between remote and direct interests, and your local board attorney can help you navigate conflicts and ethically conduct your duties. Your local board attorney can also help you determine whether any of your local board's policies apply, as well as whether there are any existing legal opinions from the state attorney general or county attorneys that may inform the legal advice you receive. Again, always consult with your local board attorney, as the deliberate failure to disclose any conflict may result in felony charges, while negligent or reckless failure to disclose a conflict can result in misdemeanor charges. As we move on, local board members and personnel also have the responsibility to avoid or report instances of fraud and the waste and abuse of public resources. Fraud is any intentional deception, misrepresentation, or omission that impacts public service. Potential occurrences of fraud could include contract fraud, illegally obtaining retirement benefits, and the falsifying of timesheets, per diem or expense reimbursement claims. Invoicing for fictitious goods and services is also an example. Waste is the intentional or careless management of resources, such as failing to reuse or recycle major resources or the purchase of goods or services that aren't necessary or used for inappropriate purposes. It is also wasteful to knowingly purchase supplies or goods and services at inflated prices. Abuse is any practice inconsistent with fiscal management, such as using your personal position or access to confidential information for personal gain. Local boards have the legal and fiduciary obligation to report occurrences or potential occurrences of fraud, waste, and abuse to state or local authorities. The PSPRS Integrity Hotline is a valuable resource for fraud, waste, and abuse information and reporting. Please note that this presentation is intended for training purposes only and does not serve as legal advice. Please speak with your local board's legal counsel if you have any questions. Additional resources concerning ethics, conflict of interest, fraud, and waste and abuse include Arizona Revised Statutes, specifically Conflict of Interest Statutes in Title 38, the Arizona Department of Administration's State Public Service Orientation and Loyalty Oath, the PSPRS Board of Trustees Governance Manual, and the PSPRS Integrity Hotline. That wraps up our ethics awareness training session. Thank you for attending and serving your community by joining your local board.